Both players cannot avoid the repetition of moves here. Unless you sacrifice the queen with queen c3 in this position. But I don't think Magnus feels the need to do something drastic like this. He does.
He does it.
Wow.
Yes, you saw that correctly. Magnus Carlsen had a completely drawn position right in front of him, and even the commentators thought it was a draw. But no, this man, Magnus Carlsen, decides to sacrifice his queen to create a little bit more counterplay and just play on for the win. Well, this is round 9 of the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam Paris, and Magnus Carlsen is playing against Grandmaster Richard Rapport. Rapport opens with f4, and again, I don't know anything about freestyle chess, but I guess the idea is just to open up the queen like this and the bishop like this, and also control a little bit of the center space, like in normal chess. Magnus responds with d5, very standard, and Rapport plays g4 again to open this bishop. Now, in freestyle chess, since your pieces are placed differently, you can open them up and activate them in different ways. So this bishop is technically already fianchettoed. So after playing this g4 move, this bishop is now extremely powerful. That's why Magnus plays g5, opening up his own bishop and challenging some center space. But this allows Rapport to play f5, which kind of shuts down the queen side and limits Magnus's space, which is why the engine is giving a slight edge to Rapport right now. But if you're named Magnus Carlsen, then advantage doesn't really matter and you just win every game. So Rapport is basically just trying to find a way to activate his pieces because his knight can't go to c3 anymore, so I guess knight a3 and knight c4 is the idea with this. Bishop c6 just makes sense, trying to trade off this super strong bishop, and he'll recapture with the knight. And he's hoping that Rapport takes this. But of course, Rapport doesn't, which makes sense, but bishop g3 is a bad move because apparently e6 is super strong, just challenging Rapport's hold on the queen side and allowing quick development if he takes with knight e6. Oops. Sorry. Anyways, Rapport plays knight c4. Again, this is the idea behind knight a3, just to bring a piece out and develop. And now we get knight b6, just again trying to develop. I guess freestyle chess in the opening is finding ways to develop your pieces without losing. And I mean, both players, just super grandmasters, can't really question them. So now Rapport is starting to take here like this. So of course Magnus is going to take on h1. And after queen h1, Magnus finds rook d5, which is a good move because you challenge this knight here and force away, and after knight b3 you can play a5, and you're immediately putting pressure on Rapport's king side, and this forces a4 kind of to stop black from playing a4. Knight a6 is not a good move, but I literally cannot tell you why this is a bad move. Engine is just doing engine things. E4 looks good for Rapport, and now he kind of just has this light squared complex with the dark squared bishop. So Rapport's position is already looking very good, and Magnus has this kind of bishop staring into its own pawn, and that's why engine is again giving Rapport a slight edge. But over these next few moves, I want you to watch Rapport's time and Magnus's time over here on the left hand side. So Magnus plays knight b4 pretty quickly, and then Rapport spends almost a minute on knight d2. Again, Magnus is playing super quickly, queen e8, just improving moves, wanting to play moves like queen c6 and just bring more pieces out. And then Rapport spends almost 2 minutes on castle. And what even is this castle? I didn't even know this was legal. This allows... Okay, oops. Oh my god. Well, okay, I guess we get to see this castle again. But this allows knight a4, which just grabs a free pawn, but this allows Rapport to put a lot of pressure on Magnus's position, and you'll notice he didn't take on c2 because this allows us something like rook a c1, and now there's massive pressure on the c file. But this will be a problem for Magnus in the future, as you'll see. So after this knight a4 grabbing a free pawn, Rapport brings another piece into the attack, and here, look, Rapport's time goes from 2 minutes to 37 seconds. He's just in extreme time pressure now, and he's almost in a time scramble, while Magnus is absolutely chilling with 7 minutes. But the position favors Rapport a lot. because he just has massive pressure on Magnus's king side and much more active pieces. Magnus goes for this tactic here, which tries to win another pawn, but after rook fc1, it's honestly not looking great for Magnus, and I mean, Rapport's just doing very good here. I would much rather be white in this position than black, even though I'm down 2 pawns. So knight c5 is a good find by Magnus, and Rapport kind of starts losing the edge a little bit, but actually b4 is a great move. Just having a double attack, and this pawn is pinned. So queen b4 is forced, I guess, and now Rapport puts even more pressure on the queen side, and he's immediately starting to think about threats like e5 after the queen moves to just threaten b7. And there's always this rook c5 idea, removing the defender of b7. And again, Rapport's just destroying Magnus on the diagonals, and has like almost all of his pieces are into the attack, while Magnus is just kind of like his pieces are extremely passive, and this bishop is staring into itself, this rook is staring into this pawn. Magnus is honestly, he's getting crushed here. But the problem for Rapport is he has no time, and he's also playing against the greatest player of all time, so that's might be some psychological pressure. They repeat twice, and then Rapport plays knight to b3. Brilliant move, and you obviously can't take this because you just get destroyed after rook c7, and so again, this is just brings another piece into the attack, threatening stuff like, I mean, he's threatening to take here, obviously, and that's why Magnus has to play knight a6, and now this rook opens up, and so you can start thinking about maybe even sacking here with bishop c7, but there's no reason to do that, and that's why Rapport just plays e5, threatening to do some stuff with like queen b7, knight c5, like opening up this attack. So that's why Magnus is forced to play rook a7, and after queen d2, Magnus has this really good move here, b6, just kind of holding everything together on the king side, but instead he misses this and blunders with a5, a4. And this allows knight d4, because if you accept the sacrifice, rook c3 simply traps the queen. But with just 30 seconds left on the clock, Rapport's missed this critical idea and instead re-blunders again with queen a5, and now the position is almost equal, from a completely winning position for Rapport to dead equal, with a lot of imbalances still. His idea is that Magnus can't take this knight, otherwise the queen will take on a3. But Magnus finds this critical e6 move, solidifying the queen side and just stopping any more ideas. Rapport goes for this mass simplification, with Magnus still being up 2 pawns, but he has some tricky dynamics and like big threats with like queen a8 or like queen b6 is a threat. Magnus takes here. Now he's up 5 points in material, and this is the position. This is the position you've all been waiting for, because Magnus is forced to keep his rook tied down to the c7 knight. Otherwise, he's just going to get mated. It's forced. So after queen f8, he's forced to go back. Only move, and Rapport goes back to c5. Again, reinstating the threat of queen c7, and Magnus could have played rook d7, in which Rapport would have most likely just continued with queen f8. And this is just a draw, because Rapport is down 5 points in material, but Magnus is forced to repeat moves. Instead, up 5 points in material with a free draw in front of him, Magnus plays queen to c3, sacrificing the queen to create some dynamics, to create some counterplay. Rapport is obviously forced to take this, and Magnus, of course, recaptures the rook, and now we have super imbalanced position. Rapport takes this pawn, but now this pawn is the biggest asset for Magnus, and this bishop is extremely bad. But let's see how Magnus deals with this position and converts this into a win against one of the strongest players in the world. So he starts by trying to activate this bishop a little bit. Bishop f8 is already an idea to play a3, and Rapport kind of maneuvers around a little bit, but Magnus plays rook d5 to... I guess the idea with this is that, yes, the idea is to add another attacker onto e5. So if Rapport plays bishop b6, Magnus can take here, defend this, and attack this at the same time while being defended by the rook. Instead, Rapport goes for this, trying to just blockade this pawn a little bit, but Magnus is pushing. This is why Magnus is so good at endgames. It doesn't matter that this is chess 960. He's gone into a normal endgame, a normal chess, and he's pushing. D4 is played, and Magnus drops back a little bit. Now he starts bringing the king, and this is a massive blunder because this allows Magnus Carlsen to play a3, sacrificing the rook, because if you take it, Magnus is going to play a2, and making a queen is unstoppable. So here what Rapport had to do is simply drop back to d2 or something to cover this a2 square. But with just 30 seconds left on the clock and massive pressure on him, Rapport takes on d8, but this allows Magnus to play a2 and secure a queen. So Rapport is simply down a piece in this position, and down a piece is all Magnus Carlsen needs to be one of the best players in the world. He trades queens, the knight covers the promotion square. Magnus has 2 pawns left and an extra knight. Rapport creates some pretty good counterplay here with the pawns. It's never easy for Magnus. I actually really like the way both Magnus and Rapport played this endgame, because Rapport's creating a lot of pressure on Magnus even though he's down a piece and completely losing, and Magnus showed very good technique. Bringing the bishop back, bringing the king in, using the knight to defend this, and here there's no there's no g6 because it's just knight f4, and this is what happened in the game actually, but yeah, I mean, of course, there's no way for Rapport to do anything about this, just down a piece. Here, actually, wait, what? This is equal, what? Bishop f8. Oh, I guess Magnus blundered this. Yeah, bishop f8, bishop g7. And you just collect this pawn. I think this is the idea. So if, like, let's say, yeah, I mean, the idea is just to go here, and then you can collect this pawn, and it's a draw. Wow, Magnus actually missed this, but, you know, it doesn't matter. If you're playing against Magnus, you're just inclined to blunder, so Rapport plays bishop a3, and this is losing, because Magnus is picking up the pawn, and there's nothing you can do about this up 2 pieces, and Rapport resigns here. This just goes to show how strong of a player Magnus Carlsen is, sacrificing the queen without a single second of hesitation and just cleanly converting that endgame with extremely good technique and just making it look easy, honestly, against Richard Rapport.